Hey, this is Bernie here. I'm just out for a walk on Monday or at lunch, I should say. And plus 18 today is the high. That's nice. And it's going to be a great day. Wow, yesterday was awesome. And just, kids, it's good to get out, get a little exercise. And I'm here by Strathmore Lakes. And spring is such a nice time of year, eh? As ice is melting. But one thing I want to say, you got to get out for exercise, kids, with your parents, and you're just restless and fighting with each other if you don't. And it's not both of you to blame. If one of you is going out and the other one's not, that's whose fault it is, because they're all worked up and they got nowhere to put it, right? So exercise is key. And then you got the peace, eh? So you go out to get a little peace and quiet. And we're here by the nice houses in this neighborhood too, eh? So you can see, it's kind of nice to have a lakefront property anywhere really, but you can do it in Strathmore here too, so that's good. We got a nice, rich little community invested in quiet and peace on the neighborly side of Calgary, where we get along good. And that's the goal. The motto here actually is, quality of life is the way of life. Quality is the way of life. And over across the lake there, my friends Habir and his wife Jot built a new home with their parents. They run the fast gas. If you're in town, you can, if you want, fill up with those guys. They're just 2 blocks off on the main drag as you come in by A&W and the Husky. And sometimes people don't go off the highway, but it's not far. They got a good gas station. They got everything you need, coffee and stuff. Friends of mine, they used to live just 2 apartments down from my little condo. Anyways, we're walking today, getting our exercise and our peace and quiet. And one of the things about peace and quiet, a little neighborly news for everybody, how to get along in these COVID times, especially when we're sort of quarantined to our homes, but we aren't. It's just a precautionary measure unless you have symptoms. You're just doing it in peace and quiet with everybody. But you should never worry about a guy when he leaves on a Sunday on his day off to go out and get some peace and quiet in the country. Sometimes he's doing it for neighborliness with you, because maybe you can't get along with anybody, and his way is just to go leave and not have a fight. And that's me, actually, in accordance with a lot of things I believe in my spiritual belief above Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. We didn't do that as Catholics. We were Protestants, remember? In my body, mind, and spirit, personal daily leadership of self, and the CCI Good Samaritan Pro Connections Consulting, the humanitarian side of my company. Business training, business leadership, I suppose. So, peace is hard to come by sometimes, and it takes people getting along. And the absence of war doesn't necessarily mean there's peace. And sometimes it takes a good structure to get along. Let's say, for example, you were a neighbor and you had little kids, and the only place you had for them to play was out in the backyard, in these times especially. And it was fenced in, but your other neighbor pulls up and his driveway's beside your yard with the grass where the kids play. And you're neighborly, so sometimes you have neighbor kids in there too. It's not just yours. And maybe your wife's even babysitting one of the kids for the single mom next door who's got to go to work that day and stuff. And this guy pulls in with his big rig truck all the time, and the exhaust pipe, diesel shooting out through the fence, and you complain to him. You say, look, would you mind backing your truck into your driveway so your exhaust is shooting into your yard the other way instead of through the fence at my kids? I don't like it. It's not good for their health. And you keep telling him, and he won't do it. And you wonder, well, why is this guy not doing this? Some things just aren't right. And you got, maybe you've had the cops involved. Maybe you've complained to the landlord of the tenant issue, the building manager, because it's a long list of townhouses all side by side, all owned by the same property management agent, I suppose. nobody's complaining except you, nobody's doing nothing, then what do? Guy won't listen, you know, and what do? Go buy a gun? I suppose, you know, you've even offered them, if you ever need a babysitter, we'll look after your kids if you and your wife got to go do something. There's no neighborliness there. And no matter how good you say you are, no matter how much you say you know God, if you don't respect and be kind and love your neighbor and treat them according to how they're trying to get along with you, then you don't know God at all. And that is a bad one. That's a bad sin. So, you know, why are you trying to pretend you're being a friend to people when you're really not? And that's the question. And maybe you're just a guy, maybe you're a single person, and maybe you live in a little condo like I do, I suppose. Maybe the walls are paper thin and you're trying to like just get along with people, peace and quiet. And you know, maybe another neighbor is just like loud, but it's not everything, it's just some things, hey? And they insult you when you complain, you knock on their door. You know, the first few years maybe you've tried to get along with them well, and they hated you. So you said, well, you know, I guess maybe we can't be friends, let's just exist in peace together. And it's just a few things, but they won't respect it. And you know, you've phoned them, you've yelled at them through the wall, all kinds of things to get them. And you know, love covers a multitude of sins, it says in ancient history. So I suppose by the time you complain, you've already let 9 out of 10 things go for several months. And it's to the point where you're, I mean, what are you going to do? You know, and it's just like, could you not slam your window so loud every day? You're smoking, slam, 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 slam. Could you not pound your feet up the stairs? Could you pound your shoes, the mud off and the snow off outside on the step instead of inside? You know, maybe this guy's like feeling like he's inside a bongo drum in this little condo, eh? And you're stomping across your floor, and can you get away from your table without sliding your chair and making this big evacuate the building noise? And you won't listen, maybe. And this is you maybe I'm talking to. I won't say your name if it is, but you know, you are starting to hate this guy maybe because he's always insisting. You know, you have no privacy rights. I do too. I just want to get along. And you can't hear these 4 or 5 simple things, and your heart is going hard. It says, forgive thy neighbor, love thy neighbor. And there's a prayer in ancient history that says, forgive them, Father, they don't know what they're doing. But they do know. They've hardened their heart. So you're wondering why this guy's always he's complaining to you. But you look in the mirror, you gotta look in the mirror, and what are you seeing? You're the cause of it. You've hardened your heart, and you won't do these simple little things to have peace. And you say you want to be a neighbor and a friend, but you don't, because every time there's an opportunity and this person extends a hand of friendship to you, you don't answer your door. You walk away. So I don't think you know, in this example, you don't really want what you say you're wanting anyhow, so just get along. And this is good advice from CCI Good Samaritan Pro in both of these examples, in simple daily living in both small town or city, because we have big diesel trucks, we live in oil and farm country, and big houses, and we have condos. We have a lot of single people, probably 2/3, 60% of Canada is single people when it comes right down to it, either married and divorced or never been married at all. And so these are 2 examples of everyday life, and we got to get along. And if you can't do that, what's going to be the problem next? The police have been involved, the building managers, and then so how are you going to get along? Are you going to take matters into your own hands, or what are you going to do? And you can't pray anymore because person's heart is hardened. They don't want to listen. They're rejecting the Lord above. And, you know, so you have to keep your life moral and simple and can't be pushed in on, you know. So, you know, the sword of justice comes out when it's needed to rise up when the wages of sin is death, it says in ancient history, death will no longer have a place when the sword of justice comes out and is ruled with authority to cause friendship levels to come up and get along. And, you know, it might have to get that way. I suppose. I don't like fighting. I'm not much of a fighter. I've only self-defensed myself through my entire life, I suppose. And I won 8 fights out of 8. And I never wanted any of them. I just want to get along with people. But you know what? You can't be a tough guy and walk around with a simple heart and a simple life and wish that for other people. And I'm talking to somebody. I don't care if you were raised in a bike gang and you don't have good principles and you have died by a sort of not justice, injustice. You can hear something today and you can learn. So I hope and I suppose you'll take this to the bank and learn and equate it in history. We're in novel times now, COVID and everything, but the world isn't the same and people aren't treating each other like they used to. So, you know, if you're hearing this, you should probably take it serious, because that sword might rise up and people are buying guns. And, you know, you think you're a smart mouth hiding behind your 4 walls and you can't get out once in a while and try to keep calm and peace with people. And then what do? Go around town and you persuade and buy off the odd person to get buggery into the situation and be a creep to this person who's trying to get along, because you can't persuade justice that way in yourself. I don't know what you're doing. I think Justin Trudeau should get a haircut. On a side note, I'm ad-libbing here a bit, but you know, I understand his wife came down with the symptoms and you don't hear much about that, and he doesn't get too personal. It's too bad. I hope she's doing well. But, you know, like, you're not throwing your self-righteousness at us, are you? Like, I cut my own hair, but surely the guy must have a maid or something that can cut his hair, or try it yourself. No one knows, because we don't know the hearts of other people. We cannot judge, and we should not judge neighborly news accordingly either. We don't know what a person is really up to in their own heart, do we? So we got to go from there, and we got to walk it out that way, I suppose, and don't do any more, right? Like, you know, you just, you know, try to overlook the things with people and get along until there's a point of no return. And if someone tells you to go to hell, you know you've reached it. You know you've reached it. So beware of that and try your best. I mean, wouldn't life all be better if we just all owned a yellow Corvette, though? Wouldn't we have a lot of peace and quiet and get that into our own heart desire? And we'd know, wouldn't we, one thing from another? Because that would be the resuming power of entity of everything, having a yellow Corvette. Our heart, our desire would be peace. Come on, like, this is real. Some people don't know this stuff. CCI Good Samaritan Pro teaches these quality behavior principles so we can get along in a time when dust is no more. No dust is flying out there, folks. The Canada ain't what it used to be, and it's barely existing. I just got an email back from Revenue Canada. I've been complaining, and I explained in my email, I can't get the information on your website. I can't get through on your 1-800 numbers. So I emailed on their contact page, and I suppose they emailed me back. And you know, some of you businesses are no better, and that's why I'm teaching customer service principles. You put people in a loop, a no reply email address, and it says to go to the website to find out the information. So I have no suffice answers to any of my questions. And isn't that how life can go, when people abandon you and they don't care and don't give a shit about you, I suppose? Well, I do. And, you know, I guess I wanted this training company, but some days I'm telling you, like, the headache and the satisfaction is what? Having to teach sometimes hard principles so people spit in your face, lie to you, steal, cheat, slash your tires, break your windshield of your car, break into your house and break off something in your key lock so you can't even get in yourself. And like what? you know, there's a cost if you want to do good, and I hope you'll keep doing it, whoever's listening to this part of the video that doesn't need the discerning truth. But I hope you'll rise up and stand for justice and what's right and do good more and more and more. I thank those people at A&W. They serve me a good breakfast 2 to 3 times a week. It is consistent. Why can't it be consistent in getting along with people? There's profit involved in serving food. Well, relationships in harmony could be very profitable too. Not just potential business outcomes between friends, but if you've decided you're not somebody's, there's just no way we can be friends. There's just no way. Just getting along in simple harmony, though, has benefits beyond galore to your own peace of mind, your own quiet. But it's a two-way street. And you can't golf one way anymore. You got to have your golfing partner, even if you don't like the buddy. He's your partner, and you got to get along. It's the way it is. You know, I think it's a bit of a sham that we're trying to solve all these problems, and the only person I've heard mention God. Remember all those Morgan Freeman movies? The President of the United States is going to war with aliens or other countries, and there's always that one moment in time where it's in God we trust. He's the President of the United States in the movie, or go in Godspeed. And there's a recognition by Hollywood in all those movies. Yet in the news media, you can't hear anybody in our parliament, anybody in our business outcomes anywhere, in our medical community, our scientists trying to solve these problems, get up cures, antidotes, vaccinations, all of it. No one except Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, has acknowledged God that I have heard, and I watch the media 4 to 5 hours a week to stay abreast of things on top of it. And at the end of his talk, assuring Ontarians what we're doing in the government to take care of things, he said, God bless, to everybody at the end of his speech. And that is uncommon, and I thank you, Doug, for that as a person, a speaker in this society, because you know, ancient wisdom says there is no wisdom outside of God. It only comes from God above into man's heart, soul, and mind, body and spirit. And as we do not access and we even deny it, it gets worse. When we might not solve problems if we're not going to give some, you know, recognition to Him and really some glory. Like, you know, man can't do it in his own. We're seeing it. Our frailty is here. We've come into a lot of problems with this COVID scenario, and we got to get them solved. People can't go on in this society like we have been, you know, without a vaccination or a cure or some kind of antidote. And we got to get there. We got to get through this. People can't give up and get sick and lay down and quit on their houses and on their mortgages, on their work. I mean, the government's throwing in the subsidy and doing all that, and we're hoping it's getting to the people as they need it. But, you know, Doug, keep doing it more. I encourage leaders to rise up and give recognition and honor where it's due above, because that's where the answers will come. There's a scripture, and I think it's in Corinthians or ancient Thessalonians, I can't remember for sure. You know me, I know my Bible history, but I don't always have the address quote. But it's internal, it's in me, and it says, every good gift comes above from the Father of lights. And that is the truth, and that's where the vaccination or the cure will come. I've sent in the Kiani message to CTV News, Rick Bell Media. I sent it down to CBS in the States, in New York. I've sent it to a couple of talk shows, Ellen DeGeneres, Dr. Phil. And I guess Jerry Springer is probably the only one I haven't tried. I think he's still going, isn't he? I forget. It was the Geraldo Rivera show years ago in the mid-'80s when they had that family feud, when they broke out into an all-out fist fight on TV on that talk show. Two families trying to solve a boyfriend-girlfriend scene. And anyways, that's a year or two ago. But, you know, these talk shows do some good. Ellen, whoever, you know. So I'm going to get on one of them, and I'm believing and hoping that, because I believe this Kiani product is a vaccination and a cure. And people, whatever reason it is, we all want our status quo, it seems. We don't want to be interrupted by some uncommon thing, unusual, but does good. Not something that, man, there's interruptions that do bad, isn't there, eh? Steal your time. You get a 4-hour day when you're trying to get an 8-hour day of productivity. All this kind of stuff. But when something comes along and it's good news, why is it's so hard to get interrupt mode into status quo and the way people do things? I'm out here walking today and I'm talking, but you know, this isn't an everyday occurrence for me, walking and talking on my phone. I don't do this every day. I usually walk 3 times a week. I think I'll have to cancel my gym membership. You know, how long is this COVID gonna last? Like, I don't want to be paying $55 a month for my little squared away gym there and not using it. It was bad enough when I wasn't getting there in 2020. I've been, you know, on a regular, I amped up my occurrence, and their contract, they let you freeze it. Like, that's right in the contract. You can freeze it for several months in a yearly period for reasons like you're traveling or whatever, and something like this is an act of God, it would qualify. And they're getting the subsidy from the government anyhow on the business side, so it's not like they're going to be out any revenue. But you know, it's all these little things. You don't do them right away because they all add up to time, and when you're trying to fulfill things and commitments, I mean, so you know, you go spend a couple hours getting that all straightened out here and there, so you wait a bit, right? That's human nature. You procrastinate kind of, but it isn't. It's like, well, maybe this will correct itself in 3 or 4 weeks and we'll get on with it, and then for the time it would take me, I'll just let it go. Well, then another month goes by. Hey, you know what, I'm putting that $55 in my pocket. I'm gonna buy an extra can of soup this month and throw it in the kitchen cupboard, you know, in case the soup guy doesn't get here on time or whatever, you know, in the food thing. And anyways, it's a nice day. I gotta go now, I guess, and keep walking. I think I'll go back. This is kind of the point of no return, I think. I don't want to walk on the cold side there, so I'm gonna walk this way. So bye for now. Bernie May, Connections Consulting, and I'll get back to you here later today with something else that I want to say to people in these times, because it's hard, and you know, you got to get along. There's many of us trying to get along, and that's good. It just takes 1 or 2 though that wrecks it for everybody. 1 or 2 bullies, or whatever you want to call it, or just people that are miserable and don't want to get along with anybody. And you got to look into your own soul and figure out why it is you can't get along with anybody. Why? And you might say you want to, and you believe it, and you're even aligned with a handful of others that do believe it too, but there's no reason why you can't get along with the rest of the world. Like, seriously, you know, it's scriptural ancient truth from ancient wisdom history. Good Samaritan Pro says, love thy neighbor, pray for thy neighbor, bless thy neighbor. And it also says those exact same 3 things about people that aren't your friends. Be kind and love your neighbor, pray for your neighbor, and bless them. So it's the same concept in getting along, separate from the business we do in the marketplace. And you know, that's all. I'm signing off. 403-519-3495. Have a good day. We'll talk to you later.